Good evening, and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this evening. Let's just double check everything is live. There is a poll going already. Good evening. There's a poll going already. Should we forget the Europa? Serious question. Martin O'Neill has obviously said that it's not in his nature to give up on European football, but it's certainly something could do without, with the league being the way it is, with Celtic playing the way they are. Or should we just, I mean, Martin O'Neill's not going to give up on it, but should we just focus on the league? Should we forget it? Or should we just go one game at a time and see where we end up at the end of this season? I think that would be the one that I would go for if I was voting on this. It would be just go one game at a time. Let's see where the season takes us. And at the end of the day, whatever Martin O'Neill does at Celtic this season, before I go any further, I'm going to put it out there. I do not read every single comment. I can't read every single comment. I got stick via Facebook yesterday for not reading every single comment. During the live yesterday, there was 3,500 comments. So unless somebody wants to come in and give me a hand and read the comments out, I'll just focus on doing the video then rather than reading all the comments. Apologise if you're offended that I don't read your comments out. I just thought I'd get that out of the way first of all. Anyway, we're losing the league this year, says the smart's good thief. Do we just focus on the league and try our best to get it over the line? Can Martin O'Neill get it over the line? Or do we just forget about it? Forget about Europe or one game? I think it's the way that Celtic always go. It's the way that if we lose Thursday, do you rotate the full team for the second leg? Yes. Ian. Yes. Yes. If we lose Thursday, you just, when you go to Germany, you just put out as many B team players as possible and keep the squad. And that's most of the comments are shite anyway, says Kev. And yeah, mate, Thomas, I would be here for weeks trying to read all the comments, but never mind. Some people just like to have them on. But that's a good comment, Alan. If we lose the league on Thursday, do we rotate the full team in the second leg? I would say yes. There's nothing to play for, is there? It's going to be a hard enough game away to the Germans. But what if we win the first leg? What if we win the first leg? The league is our bread and butter and the passageway to the money. But if you win the first leg, okay, we win the first leg, and then it gives us a fighting chance going to Germany. And you never know what can happen. I mean, that throws a spanner in the works. Say we win 2-1. Say we win 2-1 on Thursday. What does that say to that game? The away game. It really puts a spanner in the works big time as far as Martin O'Neill's concerned, because say you were to go all the way, and if, it's a big if, but if you were to win it, you go directly into the Champions League. 40 million. Can't play the B team players, they aren't registered. Well, when you see the Europa team, let's get the Europa squad up. Celtic Europa squad. Well, this is where it gets interesting, because Tuesday, just put the comment up. Chill pill. Can't play B team players, they aren't registered. Well, this is where it gets a little bit strange because this is a squad for this year. Double check the right one. Yep. This is a squad. Let's see if this has been updated. Casper Schmeichel, Sinisalo, Ross Dohan, Aaron Rice, numerous underage keepers. Alistair Johnson still registered. Scales, Trusty. Julian Araujo. Julian Araujo has made the cut. So he has been added. Tony Ralston's still there. Yang, Kyle Uri. Benji Negrin. Big Tam the Czech's been added. Colette Geniacio's still there. So there you go. I mean, the only one that isn't is a that's not going to play is Arnie Engels. But with the rest of the team that are there, I mean, if we win the game 2-1, you've got to go for it. Junior Adamu's in the squad as well. There he's there. If you do win that game on Thursday, do you just go for it in the second leg and just go and play football? Because Martin O'Neill will be thinking, like, we win this game through the last 16. You know, it does add a shitload of games on between now and the end of the season. You know, it could be another 5 games that you could really do with it without. I will never forget Europe. I know that there's many people won't forget Europe because there's a lot of people that I know that have already paid up and they're going to Germany. You know, they're going to the Stuttgart game. Somerset Tam, this is true. Even at full pelt, we lose to Stuttgart over the 2 legs. Where does optimism come from? Where we struggle to beat teams at the bottom of the SPFL. I don't get the optimism. Because they're not playing that great either. You've got to remember that their manager gave them time off to rest before the game at the weekend. They scored late goals at the weekend. The 84th minute and the 92nd minute to win the game. That's not a team that is doing fantastic. You know what I mean? They've been struggling. They got beat off St. Pauli, who are away down the bottom of the league. That was a big one for them to get beat by St. Pauli, who are rank rotten and away down the bottom of the league. Do you know? It says that there's a chance. There is a chance. But it's not good enough to win the Europa. This team can't defend. Ange Postecoglou took an unfancied Spurs team all the way in the Europa. They were 17th in the English Premiership. They were rank rotten in the English Premiership. But when it got to the later stage of the Champions League, Ange Postecoglou changed the system and went full on Kilmarnock style, full on St Mirren style. You know, all these teams that played really defensive in the SPFL against Celtic. Ange Postecoglou used those tactics that he had seen other teams use against Celtic over the years. He went full on in that mode to make sure that Spurs got to the final when it got to the later stages. They went full on defensive. Can Celtic do that? You would have to drop Daizen Maeda, Rio Hitati, but surely there's some younger guys in there that can make the step up. Jude Bonner, for instance. I don't know. I mean, it is quite a big squad, and you can bring in some of the youth players into the first team squad, as has been done on the bench before. Now, remember last season, we brought in Dane Murray to the Champions League to give him some Champions League experience. And fair enough, Dane Murray slipped on his arse at the edge of the box and it cost us a goal. But he was devastated with that, Dane Murray. He was absolutely devastated. I'm not saying that we can go on and win the Europa, but like Martin O'Neill said in his comments about the game, he said that, would you just like to give Thursday a miss? And he said, you like to, but the coefficient eventually might help Scotland in the future. And we've got to think of that as well, because the further that we go in the competition helps us not play in qualifiers, helps us play in less qualifiers. Qualifiers are we're useless at them. Absolutely woeful for the Champions League. And not that I think that we'll be lucky if we're even in the qualifiers for the Champions League next year, unless we win the Europa. And it would just be like Martin O'Neill. It would just be like Martin O'Neill to Stuttgart is no Livingston or Kelly. And I get that. And they'll not sit back like Livingston and Kelly. And will that, I'm going to play devil's advocate, will the fact that a team won't just sit back and defend. Now, some will say that Kilmarnock never sat back and defended, and it was quite, mind you, Kilmarnock went 2-0 up. Jim Lister says, being honest, Martin O'Neill was playing good in European games, and Martin O'Neill would trust. Oxlade-Chamberlain is not in the squad. You look at the midfielders, Oxlade-Chamberlain was signed the day after, and he wasn't going to be in the European squad because he signed the day after. Celtic should have got that deal done. I thought as soon as we were linked with Oxlade-Chamberlain, I'm thinking, yes, you're getting him in for Europe. Been a massive one. He'd have dragged us. I mean, he'd have helped in Europe. Even playing 40 minutes in the second half. Midfielders, you've got Yang, you've got Luke McCowan, Arnie Engels, who's out injured, the Belgian. Paulo Bernardo, the Portuguese, who's just not getting any game time at all. Callum McGregor, Kyle Urey, James Forrest, Sean McCardle, a load of young guys. And then it goes, it's just a load of young guys. I've got 17-year-olds, 18, 19, 20-year-old. Francis Turley. Surely it's time for Francis Turley to be knocking on the front door of this Celtic team. Sean McCardle as well. We'll wait and see. Forwards, Benji England Jr., Adamu, Big Tam the Czech, Kelechi Iheanacho, 29-year-old and made of chocolate. Sebastian Tenetti, Dyson Maida, Jude Bonner, and then just a couple of some young lads. It is an interesting one, but whatever happens on Thursday, I hope that there's a good turnout. As it stands just now, it doesn't look like the Green Brigade will be back in for the game on Thursday. I don't have any specific updates. I just know that there has been talks, and that's it. End of. That's all I'm saying about it. How many games is Calmack away from suspension? He got booked for nothing yesterday. Best place for the game is Rosie Maguire's. It's right. It's on the other end of the strip, Mark. Rosie Maguire's, go there. There's a Celtic. There is in, I think at the end of the season, there's a Celtic gig on there. Chris Sutton's been in Rosie Maguire's. Alan Thompson's been in Rosie Maguire's, and Jackie McNamara and Rosie Maguire's. Jackie McNamara's dad might be in there having a pint. He might be in there watching the game. Old Jackie Mac Senior. So I would go in there. It's your best place. You could go up to Paddy's Point. 6.5 a dozen. If you're in Cabo Roig, I wouldn't go the way up to Lasagna to Paddy's Point. I would just go to Rosie Maguire's. Euro teams don't play like the bottom half of the SPFL, so different types of games. Yes, it will be that. I think we can take Stuttgart, no problem. They aren't brilliant. I think so. You know, Europa League and the League are two different games. Europe sometimes suits us better. This is very true. Better in Europe, teams turn up to win instead of heavy defence. True. Jed Johnson's in the house. How many times have teams playing shit in their league won the Europa Cup in Europe? That's an interesting one, Jed, because and then they end up getting into the Champions League, and you're thinking, how the fuck are they even in the Champions League? You never know. You never know. But we're a better side without Rio Hatate and Dice Maeda. Yes, we are that. Rio and Maeda should be on the subs bench to change their attitude. Yep, our track record in Europe is dire. Just a wee reminder. Not under Martin O'Neill, it wasn't. Do you know, we got a good result. Two good results with Martin in Europe. That's all that I'm saying. Do you know, Martin has a conundrum to an inner fight with himself over the next couple of days, and maybe sleepless nights as he sits. And 70-odd-year-old, he's probably ready for his bed at this time of night. Maybe watching a game, or his missus is probably going, "There's you, have your wee cup of tea and biscuits, and away yourself up to bed. You're shattered. Look at the state of you." Um, But his missus will not even be there, will he? Because he's Martin's still living at a hotel or a penthouse apartment or whatever Celtic have put him up in. But anyway, it's going to be an interesting one this week. We're too erratic, far too slow to click in matches for Europa. Interesting. I'm going to. Do you know what? I think we should just forget about Dies and Maeda and Rio Hatate. I mean, for me, I would drop the both of them. When you look at the midfield that we have, I know that we don't have Arnie Engels, and that's a massive one. And I think that we weren't too worried about getting Oxlade Chamberlain in for Europe because we knew Arnie Engels was still going to be at the club, which was a mistake. It's a mistake by Celtics. You know, if they had an inkling that the Oxlade Chamberlain deal was going to go through, they should have took the 25 million for Arnie Engels. Paulo Bernardo has not played enough football, and he's not getting a good enough performance out of him. At 24-year-old, it's a big summer for Paulo Bernardo. We could lose him. Is he good enough to start the game at Celtic Park? No, he's not, unfortunately. So you're going to be going through the middle with Callum McGregor. Sitting in the middle. Could be Luke McCowan and Benji Negrin. Could be Benji Negrin, because then you're going to have a front three of Big Tam, Sebastian Tenexte, and James Forrest. I think we'll start. I mean, do you start Yang in the middle? Do you start Yang out wide up front? Do you put Luke McCowan on? It's one that the manager is going to have to think about, and just if there's one thing that Martin will say to the players on Thursday evening, and even before the game, in training. You know, they'll make training as fun, as exciting as they can this week, and you know, get everyone buoyed up for it, get everybody really motivated for it, and it's a big game. It's a game in Europe. That's why you come to teams like Celtic. You want to play in these games. Oxlade-Chamberlain will be telling them about the run that he had to the Champions League final with Liverpool, maybe, and just egging the boys on, because he knows that if we get through to the next round, I'm wanting a place in Europe. I'm wanting a shot at Europe, boys. Do you want to do it for me? And then we'll see if I can do a little double. If I could do the Champions League and Europa. Do you know, that kind of motivation from a Champions League winner who's currently at Celtic? You know, he's won the big cup. Martin O'Neill won the big cup twice with unfancied Nottingham Forest back in the day. Anything can happen. Once you cross the line, it's 12v12. You know, it's 11v11. If you include the referees and stuff, you know, it's maybe more. But anyway, it's just anything can happen. And I think if Martin O'Neill says, look, just go out and play your best football, just go out and play without fear, stick to the game plan, stick to what we've been doing in training, stick to what you know best, and just have a good go. Keep going forward. You know, never mind this passing back caper, which was stopped in the second half after a certain midfielder was took off. But just go and enjoy it. And see, sometimes when you just have no stress about a situation and you just go and enjoy it, that's when weird things happen. And especially with Celtic, and especially with Martin O'Neill. Do you know, the Martin O'Neill effect could Maeda back up for Stuttgart? I have no idea. Do you think the Green Brigade will be back in for Thursday? Don't think so. There has been meetings with the Green Brigade. There's been meetings with a couple of other groups, but I have no idea if they will be back in or not. There's nothing been said as of tonight, but that is it. Stuttgart will take at least 4 off Celtic. I'll take the treble. Living and Kelly don't sit back for his sake. We have the team struggling. We're not really struggling. We're just not putting the ball in the back of the net. Don't know. Just jump through some of these. Francis Turley will be about 40 before he breaks into the team. Oof. The board are all talking, no action. No, they have had conversations. Fans were immense at Kilmarnock yesterday. Hopefully Ulster's on Thursday. I'd give Kelechi part of the game on Thursday. I don't know. I don't know if Kelechi's fit. I don't think that. Where's Arthur Benjamin? He's not in the European squad, and he was coming in. I don't know why people are getting excited about a defender that was going to be 4th choice defender. Arthur Benjamin did not come to Celtic to take over from Austin Trusty or Liam Scales. He's not good enough. He couldn't get into the team that he was with, and he's not in the European squad. The only 3 players that were added to the European squad was, and 4 players, sorry, was it 4? Julian Araujo was added. Junior Adame was added, and Tam the Czech was added also. There was 3 players added. You could only add 3 players at that stage, and that was the 3 that was added. He's never going to, I don't think he's ever going to get game to, unless Scales or Trusty is injured in training. That is when, and you've got to be saying, is he better than Dane Murray? I think Dane Murray has played more football than him. The young guy wasn't brought to Celtic to walk into the first team. Don't know. But anyway, Arthur's going to be another Simpson Poosie. Yeah, he's just there to make up the numbers. Simpson Poosie was brought to Celtic to make up the numbers because we don't have anyone good enough in the young team to step up. That's the reality of the situation when it comes to defenders. None of these young boys, Haley Finlay, Izuguzu, Hayden Borland, 17, Samuel Sedwell, 18, Robbie Hearn, 19, Joseph Haney, 16. They're not good enough to get into the first team. So it is what it is, as they say. Forrest has a bus pass. But I tell you one thing. He's one player that still has a go, and it's more to be said than dies. I mean, that's a good question. Does James Forrest give you more than Rio Hitati? And I would say yes. I would say every day of the week. Every day. It's funny because I was watching a Rio Hitati game from 2 years ago on the Celtic channel, and it was highlight. It was the SPFL channel, and I was watching Rio Hitati, and he never passed backwards. Never passed backwards. He would pass it to Callum McGregor in midfield sometime, but he would never pass it to the defenders. He would turn and run with the ball. So who has made Rio Hitati turned him into a bad player this year? Who was his manager at the beginning of the season? Brendan Rodgers. Brendan Rodgers' football is stuck in Rio Hitati's head. Pass it back, change the point of attack. Rio can't get that out of his head for some reason. And it's some of the pass backs yesterday were just absolutely they were uncalled for. Engels joins the long ranks of injury-prone players at Celtic. Gutty Docs isn't in the squad. This is true. Sriracha in the squad? Yes. Sriracha is in the squad. He was in for the beginning of the season, so Sriracha's been in the squad all season. But you got to remember, Sriracha was injured as well. He's another one that was injured for a big part of it. So you could say that you would start. I would start Sriracha. There's a few permutations that Martin O'Neill could use. You could use Sriracha further forward. You could use Julian Araujo further forward rather than in the back four. Does it put pressure on your substitutions? Forrest, we should be watching this game on the telly, says Jim. Good evening. Baz, it's the one main, mate. No prisoners. Let's go for it on all fronts. I think it could be in it. There's no pressure on Celtic. Really. At this point, every game in Europe's a bonus and away day. And the fans will enjoy it. And this is why it's a no-brainer, because the fans will enjoy it because it's away day. It lets them forget about the mundane away days that you get in Scottish football. It's a chance to go abroad and follow Celtic. And if we do get past Stuttgart, there's thousands going to Stuttgart, absolutely thousands. And I think that if we do get past them, it's going to be hard. If they don't, they'll be like, "Well, I've got into February going to watch Celtic in Europe." That's a win. It's a bonus. It's a bonus. Hatati does like his pass back. Yeah, does that. Sinisalo needs to be playing. Casper is clearly injured. Would you change? I mean, that's a big one. It's one that we've never. Would you drop Kasper Schmeichel for this game because he has let in a few goals now because he can't reach out with his left hand. But now it's like Celtic having a guy that's not got a left foot. Imagine not being a left footer at Celtic. But do you go with Sinisalo? I mean, you're allowed two keepers on the bench. So do you go with Sinisalo playing and Schmeichel and Ross Dohan on the bench? Martin O'Neill won't go for it. And the funny thing is Ross Dohan's 27 and Sinisalo, who is meant to be the player that will be the next Celtic goalkeeper, is only 24. You know, Sinisalo's still young as in the terms of goalkeepers, but he was number one before he came to Celtic. How long can he keep his place as number two for Finland if he doesn't get any game time? Kelly shot that hit the bar. Casper assumed it was going over and never moved for it. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of. But Dan was never going to make it here. For his sake, we have to let the boy go in the summer. If no one comes in for him, just give him a free transfer and continue his career elsewhere. That's an interesting one because we paid good money for him. We paid 3.5 million for him. Do you know he was valued at 6 million? This team cannot carry Rio and Dyson's bust ego. And Forrest is a good impact player. Slagging off Forrest for fuck's sake, he's the most decorated player I know. I know, it's crazy. I would rather play James Forrest with a bust pass than than, than Rio with a Zimmer frame. I don't think that Rio's even got a Zimmer frame. I just think he likes passing back. But yeah, Rodgers. A lot of people pointed out that Rodgers was the. Bernardo was progressive ball carrier until Rodgers. Yeah, he was. You know, he was a player that we were looking forward to seeing at Celtic, and we seem to we've got this ability to ruin players at Celtic right now. A lot of people saying that there's dropped. Is Martin O'Neill going to drop Kasper Schmeichel? Martin O'Neill's not going to drop Kasper Schmeichel. Kasper's been great for us. Shoes on the mend. Good few saves. Get us that every game. Yeah. Once Roberto Martinez takes over, Bernardo will be like a new player and back in the squad. Watch and see. It's awfully presumptuous that Roberto Martinez is the man for the job. Will he get the money that's needed? The next manager. I'm not being pessimistic. We're winning the Europa League. Remember this comment. McCown's a better impact player. I would start him, but he's to their own. Wouldn't be. Do you think that McCown's a good impact player? And especially in Europe. You've got to remember, Luke McCown can't get into the Scotland squad. Luke McCown really wanted to try and have a big impact this season, to even try and just catch a glimpse of the Scotland manager's eye. I think we're all just trying to be positive, and I think that there's one thing for sure: keep winning one game at a time. How long can we keep? Can we keep? I'm not going to say how long can we keep scoring late goals in the from the 85th minute on, because Celtic. I mean, people in the media and Neil McCann and such like having a go and having their say in Scottish media. I mean, the Scottish media is so anti-Celtic, it's unbelievable. But when you have these people come out and say, I mean, Celtic have been scoring late goals for as far as I can think back. Do you know? But every game is a cup final. Yes, it is, Kieran. Luke McCown is 50-50 games. At least you know what it means to be a Celtic player where others don't. Yeah, this is true. This is true. Right, how is that poll question down? It's got 312 votes. Should we forget the Europa? forget it, say 17%. Put everything into the SPFL league is at 16%, and one game at a time is 67%. Which I think is quite good. I think it's probably the way that the team and the players will think about it. And Martin O'Neill doesn't want to think too far ahead. Um, and I think if we used to have, had every manager has said, um, one game at a time, one game at a time. And maybe we should just take it one game at a time and try and. The belief is obviously there with the players. There's no underestimating that. Once you take Rio Hitati off and once you take Dice Maid off, the players that are coming in, the players that are new to Celtic right now, Big Tam the Czech, loves what he's doing right now. Julian Araujo absolutely loves being at Celtic. I mean, if there's anyone that will try and get a deal done in the summer, it will probably be him. Kelly had the same amount of time, Baz. All they did admit they were desperate to stop Celtic winning. Don't think that. And that's an interesting one. Don't think O'Neill liked McCowan spoke out about Nancy in public. Hmm. But then again, how is a Hattati in that team before McCowan? And 67 is a good number, isn't it? It is a good number. 67%. Say one game at a time. Maybe we should just go one game at a time. It's an ideal way for Celtic to finish the league. And it's in the hands of the football gods, really, isn't it? It is in the hands of the football gods. Why are you lying about kidding on your injured at 2-2 when you're second fucking bottom? um, Danny Cassie's in the house. Sad if Luke doesn't get to the World Cup. Luke McCown's not going to get to the World Cup because he's not. He can't even get into the Scotland squad. He's not played enough game time for Celtic this season to justify getting into the World Cup. I don't think. I mean, Luke McCown's game time this year is way down. I think Luke McCown played more last year than he expected, and I think he's probably playing the amount of football that he thought that he would play last year. Yeah, don't even get me. McGregor went all quiet at that period, but we'll forget about that. Anyway, right, that is me done and dusted for the night. It's just a short one tonight, 40 odd minutes. I will be back tomorrow morning, and we'll see what tomorrow brings, because on Wednesday, Martin O'Neill will be doing another press conference. Back in front of the media that he loves so much. And it'll be interesting to see what he says. Whom is fit, who may start. I know that he's going to tell us that, but it'll be interesting if he gives us any update on any players who may be back or who may not be. But anyway, Baz, do you think that Celtic should play 3-5-2 on Thursday night to overload the midfield and have two strikers up front? I think any change to the system now, I think Martin will start with, he'll go with the 4-2-3-1. But anyway, we can talk about that in the morning. Have a fantastic evening, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world. I apologise if I didn't see all your comments, since I did get stick yesterday for not reading out comments, even though it has been a quieter night tonight, so I managed to read out quite a few comments, because there's only been 317 comments, and not like when it's a live game and there's 3,500. Anyway, I'll catch you all in the morning.